First of all,
Amazing.
I love you guys.
Thank
you so
you.
much for letting me sit down with both of you. I'm huge fans of both of you guys.
Thank you.
Who had the idea first? Did you have some of it written? Like, whose idea was it? Was it something that you guys...
It was a story that I had heard 10 years ago. And it shocked me and blew me away. And so much so that I went home, started reading about it on the internet, started doing all this research on it. It was so creepy in certain regards that I was like, oh my God, I don't want to take this on. But then the other aspects of this identity story were so incredible that then that started to really come to life. So I actually tried to do it back then for a chapter.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Wow.
And it just didn't happen. They weren't making limited series. I didn't want to do it as a feature. People wanted me to make an ongoing series. It just didn't time out. So I walked away from it, but stayed very good friends with Fauna Hodel for all of the years. But it was such an incredible story that I kept telling people the story. I would end up telling them and always think, well, maybe one day, and had stayed in touch with her. So one day I tell Chris the story.
Did you tell him this during Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah. And we weren't talking about doing this together, but we're always talking about doing things together.
Right.
And I ended up saying, oh my God, listen to this story. And he said, wow, you should do that. I don't know if you need me to do that, but you should do that. That's incredible. And then I went home and told my husband, yeah, it's funny, we were talking about that story again, and my husband had this eureka moment of there were all these male characters in the story that had this real influence. And suddenly he was like, wait a minute, let me work on this for a little while. And so he started fiddling with something, and when he finally had broken how to tell the story, I was so blown away by it and loved the idea of Chris and I jumping in to do it together.
Well, you guys just made magic too with Wonder Woman, so obviously you trusted him and you trusted her to make magic again.
Yeah,
so.
definitely, and also you become, you get a great working relationship. Why not try to make other things that are fun together?
And were you able to change your character a little bit more? Did you get to work with her on your character at all? And
I think the biggest thing that I did, the biggest struggle I had is that this is obviously a genre piece. In a way it has noir elements, so there's a certain language and musicality that Sam brings to the characters that, for instance, there's a detective that Yul Vasquez plays beautifully, and he speaks with a real kind of staccato, there's a music to it, it's very poetic, it's very stylized. And I said, Sam, as I got into this character, and Jay's very kind of kinetic and a complete train wreck, he's all over the place, 1,000,000 miles an hour at once, that I asked them if it was okay if I loosened up the musicality of the language, and I didn't know tonally if that would work, and Patty said not to worry about it, and I trust Patty implicitly, so it was fun. It was a puzzle because we're mishmashing a bunch of different things together. It's a crime thriller, it's a drama, it's an identity piece, it's like a tone poem, it's visually beautiful, it's got so many things going for it. To try to get that perfect, to hit the mark is hard. So that's really the only thing that I kind of brought.
You know what's interesting? And I'm only now remembering that
I
we're
love
going all
it.
the way through it, is that you say that, but the truth was we were actually talking the entire time we were doing Wonder Woman. I'm now remembering that you were like, I'm interested in this aspect. I'm interested in that, because you were the one who was saying the war thing, and then I'm interested. But actually, you ended up. So we had built a character
You guys were
that
able
had
to,
been guided by. It's
do it
almost
together.
like the process you would go through in the type. That is exactly what happened. Now
Women
that
do
I'm
not
remembering-
forget, Chris,
now that I'm
anything.
remembering, because you were like, and then he would live here, and then he would do that, and then he would.
Yeah, well,
like
there were
all of
some
that
elements.
stuff.
There were some elements from that Paul Newman played, and he lived by the beach in a cottage, and he was kind of a surfer. He was a surfer. He was a kind of a straight edge, but he was going into the anyway. So I had this whole idea, and then that kind of was a starting off point and jumping off.
Yeah,
point.
I think it's actually it was a funny one because unlike you sign onto a project and you do it, and this
Yeah, I do remember that
may
now.
continue to happen. Now, we've actually talked about things a little bit all the time.
Right.
So actually, this process was happening all along, and so you didn't come in blind. It was already designed with your notes that we had done way back. And then of course it's Chris. It's
Right.
Chris's spirit and soul and humor and all of those things that then digs into all of that. So.
And you're able to use it and work with that. You know what his strengths are, and
So I think the writing was amazing, and then his spirit's ability to work and to find those things was awesome.
you guys are a dream. I love it.
Thank you.
So my fans are mostly moms. So I want to know for you, how do you? Because
Yeah.
I have a very hard time, especially like if I'm on set, I have my daughter, like juggling your
Yeah.
job, but also like being a mom and staying present in both areas. Because
Yeah.
I have a real struggle with that. So I'm curious. Do you have any insight
It
into
just
that?
is a struggle, and I actually think that's my husband said something interesting to me once when I was lamenting, like, I don't know if it's enough time this. He said, when has
anxiety. Yeah.
when has it ever been any different? When has it ever been any different? He said, it's always been this way, right? Women were never sitting around with luxury time hanging around with their kids, ever. You were busy plowing the field, you were making bread, you were doing this, you were da, da, da. We've always had to survive a huge amount to do while having children at the same time. So it is just a struggle. And so because we love them and we want to do the best we can for them. So as a woman director, I've super embraced that, where I'm like, and I say to my son, you're right, there are other moms who are there every day in lunchtime to help do these things, and I'm not that mom. But there are other things that I am as a mom. We all have our own version of parenthood, and we're all doing the best that we can. And I think I've never met a parent who thinks that they're nailing it. And so
No, it's so true.
And so I
It's so
think you
true.
really, as long as we know that our intentions are in the right place and that our heart's in the right place and that we're seriously doing our best, I think that's all you can do. I think that's all you can do. So that's how I think about it. But believe me, there are times that it's a struggle when one thing goes way too far or the other thing goes way
Yeah.
too far. It's a challenge. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris. You have been obviously in the limelight forever. You've been doing movie after movie after movie. How do you stay inspired? Is it the characters that inspire you? Is it the stories? Or like what, even beyond that, like how do you personally just not get jaded in this industry?
Well, firstly, I should say I'm the zero, the 0.0001 percentile of actors that get to work at a certain level and make a living doing it. I grew up in a family of actors. I know how difficult that is. So I want to make that very clear. I have deep gratitude for where I am. But with the luxury of choice now as I get older, there's a certain thing when anyone starts out, I guess, unless you just have the integrity, I don't know, a God, but, you want to work, so you're taking what you can to work. I think now it has to, Patty and I I think one of the, we bond on a molecular level, we just kind of speak the same language and she gets me, and to witness and be witnessed is really important. But on kind of a macro world level of doing things that hopefully say something in a big cultural way, I think as I grow, that becomes ever more important to make sure that I have an eye towards the energy that I am putting out into the universe, which is important, and I need to hold that a bit more sacred than I did before, that I can sit here and talk to you and feel good about what I did and why I did it, and there is entertainment for entertainment's sake, and I've done that and I enjoy doing that. I don't take anything away from that. I also think there's entertainment, we call it the Trojan horse, where you fit a big old fat awesome message in something that's also very entertaining.
Yeah. Working with your husband, how was that?
It was great. It's full of every hilarious, challenge you could think of. But
What's the hardest thing about working with your husband?
the hardest thing for me about working with my husband was him trying to get me to work when I was at home and just woke up and trying to work on Wonder Woman. And he's like, I think that was the hardest part for me, is that you're living with your boss. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's
in
tough.
both directions.
Yeah.
And so, but hey, that's okay. But yet it was 90% enjoyable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I love you guys. Thank you again so much for
Thank
letting
you.
me
So
sit down
nice
with you.
to meet
It's magic.
you.